Hi, and welcome to this week's Mortgage Broker broadcast. My guest this week is Marty Naan, and Marty's back on the podcast. He was originally on the podcast 2 years ago when he first started out in his self-employed mortgage broker world. It was in March 2022 that he first came onto the podcast. And I wanted to get Marty back on he's 2 years in now to that journey. And I just wanted to get his sort of take on a lot of things, really, but just really where he was, how had he reflected on the last 2 years, what would he tell his previous self, or any advice he would give, and things like that, and just really just have an overall conversation about him and his business and the challenges he's faced and what he's been doing. So, yeah, my guest this week is Marty Naan. But before we get Marty onto the podcast, here's Lee with the regular Mortgage Broker Bulletin.
Thank you, Craig, and welcome to the 7th edition of the Mortgage Broker Bulletin. Beautiful valley behind me, Pontypool. Today, just a little bit about unpredictability. Everything seems to be unpredictable at the moment. Not in a massive way, but it seems that lenders and their interest rates are pretty unpredictable. You think they're steady and they might be reducing over the long term, and all of a sudden they put them up by 0.2%. And then you've got some clients at the moment that are being a little bit unpredictable, pretty much struggling to know exactly what they want, maybe due to the uncertainty around the interest rates and the overall market. And so we just got to prepare ourselves for everything, really, on a day-to-day basis, which, as you know, is quite tricky when you're really busy and you think you're into a rhythm, and all of a sudden you've got to change direction and do something completely different. Plus then you've got to keep an eye on the rates and the other clients that you've got on the go to see if you've got to change them as well. So I just wanted to provide some comfort, really. If there's any other brokers out there who are finding it very unpredictable and very tricky to read what's going to go on next, you're not on your own. We're all in it together. Onwards, upwards and forwards, and I'll speak to you next week.
Thanks for that, Lee. Thanks for another great episode of the Mortgage Broker Bulletin this week. And now let's just get Marty onto the podcast. So welcome back onto the podcast, Marty. How are you?
Very good, Craig. Well, I'm riddled with the cold, but we'll stumble on through it anyway. Thank you very much for having me back. It's a pleasure.
I appreciate you coming back on, because you have told me on numerous occasions about your ailments right now in terms of your cold and your birthday as well recently. So you had a big,
I know.
It wasn't a big birthday, I'm guessing, but it was big enough for you.
It was a big birthday. Of course, it was every birthday. When you get to my age and you get to make it to that age, every birthday is a big birthday. It's a big week. We've had, what did we have this week? We've had International Women's Day, and then we had Mother's Day, and then we had my birthday, and then we're coming up to St. Patrick's Day as well. So there's a lot going on this week.
There is. And bear in mind that we're recording this on Friday, but we are getting out on the Wednesday. So that will be when's Patrick's Day? Is it Monday?
Sunday. So by the time this comes out, we will already have passed St. Patrick's Day.
Of course it is. So yeah, we've already had the St. Patrick's Day, which I'm guessing is a big occasion for you.
It's not as big occasion for naturalized Irish people, I think, as other Irish people. The only difference is, as a proud Irishman, I'm contractually obliged to wear green coming up to St. Patrick's Day. But we don't make that big of a fuss about it. It's not we're not going to be colouring the rivers in green or anything like that. A lot of it is very Americanized, whereas we're used to a more low-key St. Patrick's celebrations actually in Ireland. But it's good. It's a good time to get out. Everybody the world over seems to love the Irish on St. Patrick's Day, so I'm not going to complain.
It's just an excuse to drink Guinness. That's the thing. It's just that's all it is. It's just the celebration is just an excuse on a Sunday, whatever day it doesn't really matter. It's just an excuse to get drunk on whatever day on the Guinness. So if it's a Sunday, it's a weekend.
It's just it's a religious holiday technically, because St. Patrick, obviously patron saint of Ireland. I've actually got a story about where I'm from. Allegedly, St. Patrick actually visited the town where I'm from, and a sheep farmer in the area would not let St. Patrick stay in his barn or in his byre or whatever he was staying. And as a result of this, St. Patrick cursed the sheep in the area to make them more aggressive than normal. Now, I cannot confirm nor deny the authenticity of this local legend. The sheep, though, they don't seem to be too aggressive in the area. Sheep aren't normally that aggressive anyway. But yeah, St. Patrick, he is known to have visited where I'm from. And the football team that I used to play for was called St. Patrick's as well, as a tribute to. But yeah, it's a big deal, I suppose, in Ireland too. A lot of history there.
And this was a long time before you was a resident of your area, I'm guessing. This was a long time before you were born, Mike, when St. Patrick was there.
Yes, centuries before, Greg. I'm not that old.
No, we clarify that, that's all. So, well, welcome back onto the podcast. We've gone straight into it. We said before, and I knew this was going to happen, that you use many words when we're having a chat, which is good. And we're straight into it already with no agenda. And good to get you back on. 2 years, like with the 9th of March 2022 when you first came on the podcast, so 2 years ago, and you were just a few months into the self-employed world then, and I got the horrendous, because you released, I've still got the shorts from that time, as in the clips. I know you posted them recently. I don't know what was going through my head at the time with my red background lighting thing going on my podcast.
It was very Soho. You were going through your Soho phase, I think, but you seem to have come back now to your professional phase now, for want of a better term.
Thank you. I'll take that feedback. I will take that one. So yeah, episode 52, which was a long time ago, 2 years ago, on the podcast, and at that time you were newish into the self-employed world, and you quickly patented a phrase that I'd used since St. Patrick's Day, since he was around, and then you stole it and then patented it, and ever since then claimed as your own.
Unless you have got proof of the first time you said, "What's the worst that can happen?" That phrase is mine. I'm actually wearing boxer shorts now, and that's emblazoned all over the boxer shorts. It says, "What's the worst that can happen?" I will not show them on camera, but just be warned, they are there.
And you are not, I was just going to say then, you're not known for wearing your trousers, and I mean by that, but I mean as in you're not just parading around in your boxer shorts. You are known for just wearing shorts constantly. I think I've seen you in a pair of trousers once, and that sounds very OnlyFans-esque, but we'll save that for another podcast, I think.
I think we need to add context here, or else there's a lot of people currently turning off. Yes, I'm known for wearing shorts as opposed to trousers. I think trousers are uncomfortable, so I generally tend to wear shorts. And people ask me, "Do you not get cold?" And I can honestly say, no, I don't get cold. I've never felt a chill from my ankle to my knee. That part of my body has never felt cold. So I just find shorts more comfortable. In fact, the only time I think you've seen me wearing trousers was the first time that we met.
It was.
And I was probably trying to make a good impression. So I thought maybe I'll wear some trousers.
I think you bought gifts as well. I remember you bringing gifts.
I did, yeah. I wanted to load everybody up with sweets, and because I'm a lot to take on, so I kind of have to set out the stall and ingratiate people towards me before they get to know me, because then once they get to know me, it's probably too late. You know, first impressions count and all that. So I need to bribe them before I start talking.
That's very good in terms of your self-awareness. Not a lot of people are good on self-awareness, but clearly you are.
Yeah. But you see, once you break through the initial barrier, let's say you spend a half an hour talking to me, and then you consider, I don't think I ever want to talk to that person again. It was too much. But if you spend an hour talking to me, you've broken through, you're in the second half then, and then you just get gold. It's just a wonderful experience all around. Speaking to me is like getting a hug, really.
It is. Your stories are second to none. That is a cert, but we won't get into them too early into the podcast. I'm sure they'll come up, but we won't get into it. So, for people that don't know who you are, and we've gone straight, we're 7 minutes in already. of your interview, and we've not even done the. So do you want to just enlighten people to who you are?
Yes, no problem. My name is Marty Naan. I am a mortgage and protection advisor. I'm not a specialist. I'm not a broker. I'm not an expert. I'm quite simply a mortgage and protection advisor. I work with Craig, obviously, and I have clients all over the UK to achieve their dreams, to buy homes and buy new homes, first-time buyers, buy-to-lets, whatever it might be. You can be sure that I've dipped my hand in it and I'm ready to help people.
Bill, what an explanation of who you are. You are so good on self-awareness. You are really.
I don't like talking about. I don't like talking about myself.
No, I know you don't.
I mean that in all seriousness. I do not like talking about myself.
I'm joking. I know you've told me that before. You've told me that so many times that you don't like talking about yourself. You're telling stories about everybody else.
Yes, that's the irony. I love being on camera and I love my voice being heard, and I have, I can talk all day. But when it comes to, I don't mind talking historically about myself, like I done this or I done that. But when it comes to, talking me up now, I find that very uncomfortable, because ultimately I don't think people want to know about me. I think people want to know what I can do. That's just the way that I view things, because I view myself as a business, as I should. So it just finds I get uncomfortable whenever I'm trying to talk myself up.
I think that's a really good analogy in terms of, and people that don't know you, well, if you look at your content, you look at how you promote your reviews and how you're very vocal about everything that you do from a mortgage and protection advisor. I'll make sure I get that right. Not a specialist, not a broker, an advisor. I'll make sure that I get that right. But when you look at your social media profiles, you look at your videos, you very much, is that not bigging yourself up? When you look at your gold stars everywhere, is that not bigging yourself up?
Well, there's two ways I think about it. There's two ways that you could do this kind of marketing. You can be, those guys that are outside of car, you go and buy a car showroom, and that big thing that you blow up.
Yeah,
that thing.
Yeah. We're all. What are they called? I have no idea what they're actually called.
I don't know. They look like sex toys, but I don't think they're sex toys. They're just big blow up men. But there is a lot of marketing and social media that is like that. Look at me. Come and see me. Look what I can do. Now, that guy is not selling cars. But anyway, he's there to, let me go and look over there. Or the way I do it is, I think it's in a very organic way. It's in a very natural way. I let the experiences of people speak for themselves and the journeys. I don't need to say, my God, I am so good, because I have people that will say that for me. Or I will tell a story about how I've been able to do something, and somebody will naturally come to the conclusion, that sounded really good. He was able to do something special for that person. Because I don't like to glorify and boast about how good I am when I've got other people that will do it for me.
No, and to be fair,
it's true.
No, it is true. No, Mark, I 100% agree with you, because I asked you that question because I know you could handle that question in terms of me sort of putting that out there. And I knew you'd come back with a very good, calm, calculated, and very honest answer in terms of it. And it's a good analogy as well. I like that. You've always come with the analogies. However, what sort of, I nearly said brokers then. I'm conscious I'm going to be saying advisors quite a lot when I'm talking to you. A lot of mortgage advisors.
Can I interrupt you 1 second? Do you know the only reason I said that is because it's a bit like this. I see a lot of different job titles for people that do the same job as me, and there's almost an A to Z of different job titles, and they all mean nothing. They all mean this. I shouldn't say they all mean nothing. They all mean the same thing. So, but some people are very peculiar about wanting to be called specialist or an expert or a mortgage consultant or a protection advisor. They all do the same thing. I don't really care what people call me. I've had people call me awful things. As long as I can do the job that I promised I would do for them, I'm not bothered what I'm called.
Yeah, exactly. And just remember that you are on the Mortgage Broker podcast right now. So
Okay, for today and today only, I will be a mortgage broker.
I forgot what we're going to ask you now. No, I haven't. So going back to the point in terms of reviews, because I think it's a lot of brokers, a lot of advisors forget the importance of reviews. They don't like asking for feedback. They're sort of scared. They've got that thick skin. They don't want to feel as though they've done a bad job. They don't want to get negative comments that a client might sort of say to them or give them feedback on. Whereas you have got it part of your process. You get, I didn't count. To be fair, I should have counted before the podcast how many 5-star reviews you've got over the last sort of just over 2 years. But it's going to be quite a lot. And so is it just part of your process? Because you are consistent with your 5 stars day in, day out, week in, week out.
Absolutely, it's part of the process. And I have no problem asking for it. And I also came to the realization that if people have had a good experience, they will have no problem doing it. You know, I very easily lay it out to them. It's not going to cost you anything. It takes 5 minutes, but it's very valuable to me. Your 5 minutes of your time could potentially mean a new client to me. So I'm actually putting a lot of responsibility onto the person that I'm asking to write that review for me. And then they will do it because they are happy with the service. They want to give back to me. So they will write that review for me. I have never had a person say, I'm not doing that. People are eager to do it. And let me add one more thing. Anybody that says they don't like reading reviews, they're telling lies, because I get a little touched. And I don't mean that in the other way. I get a little touched when I read the words, and I'm being 100% genuine here. It is extremely humbling to read how somebody has felt in their words, you know, because I see them all through the journey and I talk to them, but people don't talk about that kind of stuff to your face. They don't talk about how the experience has been. Maybe they'll say, is everything okay? Yes, everything's okay. Have you any questions? No, no questions. But when you read somebody's perception of that journey and what you've been able to do to them, it is truly humbling, and it makes me feel very grateful to be part of that process, and I'm glad to be in that process, and I'm so grateful to every person that writes me a review, and I like reading them. I only read them once because you get a bit obsessed, and I've already got a big enough head, so I only read them once, but it really does give me joy to read people's reviews and see what I've been able to do for them in their words.
And do you think it's sort of so not that you keep, maybe you do need to keep motivated, but in terms of getting that, like you said, that client's not going to give you the comments that clients make, generally not going to say that to your face. You're asking for a review. You're not going to, you go to a restaurant and you're not going to give feedback at that particular point. You might obviously, if it's a bad experience, but from a good point of view, you've taken time to reflect on the situation, reflect on the service you've got, and you've taken the time, like you say, 5 minutes to write a review, which means the world to you. But what the thing, self-employed brokers working from home, based on their own, nobody to talk to, you get that review, you get that feedback, and that just gives you that dose of motivation to go, do you know what? I am right in terms of what I do. I do a good job, and you will have, and it will give you that persistence. It'll give you that drive. It'll give you that motivation. And I, going slightly off piece a little bit, but I did a review for somebody last year, like about just over 12 months ago, and that individual was very, like, in terms of what they did, the review was worthy, and I did take the time. Probably took me a little longer than 5 minutes, but did they take the time to go onto AI, chat GPT? And no, I didn't go on AI and did the review. I actually just took the time to write the review, and that particular person, that particular individual, came back to me and thanked me for the review. Thanks for the feedback. But then 3 months later, he actually came back to me and said, "Do you know what, Craig? I'm self-employed. They're not brokers. It's totally not in the financial service industry." They said, not only when I have a wobble, when I ever think about why am I doing what I'm doing, he said, I read your review. I pick up your email that you sent as well, and I read your review. He said, no, not only do that, he said, if anybody comes to me in the business that I'm in, and these people all self-employed, the same position as me, and they all have that wobble, because he said they tend to confide in me. I show them your review, I show them that your email, to then help them to sort of spark that, because we are all on his own. We are all running his own race. We are all sat at his own table doing what we're doing, and getting that feedback, true feedback from somebody that has experienced firsthand what you deliver. And you're not, like you say, you're not talking about it. You're not sort of saying that like an amazing guy. That your clients know they're going to get good service from you. But look at the 100 reviews or 200 reviews, however many it is, all saying how good you are. You don't need a voice, but the thing is, that certainly will keep you motivated, driven, and having that persistence. You know, because we all have wobbles, we all have bad days, we all have bad weeks. We all wake up in the morning going, "Do you know what? Why am I doing this? Why am I doing?" We all do. If anybody says they don't, I'm going to say they're lying, because we all do.
Yeah, of course they do.
And so, sorry, mate. Go on. Sorry, no, go on.
I was just going to say, of course they do. Everybody has peaks and troughs. Nobody is on all the time. Nobody is flying all the time. And your reviews are a testament to what you can do for somebody. So if you're having a wobble about something and you're trying to decide what will I do next, maybe read one of your reviews and then go and change somebody's life. Because some of the stuff that we do, I know that sounds like hyperbole, but we quite literally change people's lives through the things that we're able to do. You know, a mortgage, nobody wants a mortgage. Everybody wants a home, and a home is, buying a home is a life-changing event. So imagine you can facilitate that life-changing event. And this is the way my brain works for giving mortgage advice. It's not about the mortgage. It's about the home and getting people into the home and making sure that you can stay in the home, making sure that you're protected and that your family is safe and your family is protected. And that's what it comes down to for me, is that I am, again, I know it sounds hyperbole, I don't mean it like that, but I'm quite literally changing people's lives. I have a client at the minute who's been renting for maybe 12 years and has felt like they're not getting anywhere. And even the mortgage itself is very difficult. But last week I got the good news that a new mortgage application has been approved after many, many attempts with many different lenders. And that girl, I've got a separate video about it, but that girl told me that she's so happy that she was planning to name her first child after me.
What's your middle name? What is your middle name?
I've told her I don't need that, just pay my fee and everything will be good. But when I say I'm changing people's lives, it's true. And I'm not saying it to glorify myself or to put myself up on a pedestal. I'm just, part of the process. But the journey of what we do changes lives. It's a fact.
It does. But I think what also as well, which you are very, very passionate about, 'cause I know that working firsthand with you, is that it's not only getting people in that home. You said a little bit there about keeping people in there as well. You are very passionate about that. That is also things that will change lives as well, because I'm old enough to have had clients that have gone through not nice situations, but being able to keep the homes because of things that you put in place. You will have that same thing in terms of, you're very passionate about protection. So you're not only about getting people into that home, you're very much about keeping people in there as well. You're very passionate about that. That goes hand in hand. It's not a bolt-on service for you in terms of it. It's just literally what you do as advising. I think that's never underestimated that.
It's not a statistic. A statistic for me. It's part of my process to make sure that people are looked after. That's the central goal. Somebody is looked after. The person is at the center of everything. And, it's not a statistic that I want to get my protection numbers up or my mortgage numbers up. None of that stuff matters. What matters is the client. Client is the most important thing that I can deal with.
Absolutely. And I think that's it. When you look at especially being a self-employed mortgage broker, everything has to be client-centric. It has to be all around the client. Whatever you're doing, you're self-employed, you're building a long-term business, it has to be around your clients, because you've got these clients for life. Ideally, if you look after them, they will be clients for life. So you want to make sure that everything you do is around the client, not about stats, not about numbers, not about income, not about anything else. That will all come. That will all happen if everything you do is focused on your clients. And that's what you've been. I know you focused on that when you was employed, but you've obviously been focusing on that over the last 2 years when you've been self-employed and been doing what you've been doing.
Well, the drive to do a good job for my clients has never wavered. Whether I was doing mortgages, whether I was employed, whether I was self-employed, whether I wasn't giving advice, but I was talking about other financial products, banking products, the drive to make sure that somebody is supported, that has never wavered. That is my employment goal, is to support people. I don't see that ever changing.
And why should it? Like, it shouldn't, should it? Like, that is something that's never going to change, and that's part of your values. That's part of your matrix. That's who you are. I think one thing that I wanted to talk, because obviously when we first started, when you came on the podcast the first time, it was very early days in your self-employed world. It was very. I listened back to the podcast earlier, funny enough, just to sort of. Do you know what? I'm working away doing these various things, but I'm just going to put the podcast on. And things like the things I wrote down was about taking risks, about how you react. I've also wrote down Debbie Doubter. There was other name on there as well that sort of came up and things like that. And the one thing that stuck out, there's a lot of good content in there. So if you haven't listened to it and you think about becoming a self-employed broker, go back to episode 52, 9th of March 2022. See my bad lighting, but listen to Marty and talk about stepping out of his comfort zone and things like that. But one thing you sort of said, which still is really, really relevant now, is that no one cares. That's the one thing that you said is, and we were talking about your content, and at that point we were talking particularly about, because you'd gone out of the blocks, you were producing loads of content, you were doing lots of things, and you quickly realized that no one cares. Is that still how you made up?
Yes and no. It's a hard question to answer. I will say that as a whole, people know that I produce content, and I don't follow a lot of other mortgage advisors, mortgage brokers, so I don't know how prolific they are. I get a lot of connection requests on LinkedIn from other mortgage advisors. I think I currently have about 90. You're not getting accepted. Just want to put that out there, because it's not going to add anything to me. You're probably just going to steal my content. But anyway, as a whole,
I was going to say, you're going to be more worried about your patent on your content.
Somebody actually asked me last week, could they repurpose content of mine? Classy thing to do. I said, no problem, because let's be honest, this content is open source anyway. Work away and use it. You don't have to ask, and there's not much I can do about it if you do take it. But somebody did ask, and they repurposed it, and I was really appreciative, or I was very appreciative of the fact that they did ask. And a couple of months ago, somebody else didn't ask and basically copied something of mine, word for word, picture for picture. And that really peeved me off. There was no approach there. But anyway, I'm getting off topic here. So the content as a whole, I don't think people care. I think people as a community, social media, I don't think they care what the individual pieces of content are. But then on occasion, one person will see one piece of content that hits them, and that's the time that they care. So what I put out there as a whole, I don't think it matters. But when one person tunes into something, and I get lucky, because it is a crapshoot most of the time that somebody happens to see something on social media and it chimes with them. It's important to them, and then they get in touch with me, and then we go on this journey together. So no, the honest answer is I don't think it cares. I think that you need to get content out there, and you need to show that you're an expert, and that you build your authenticity, and that you build your reputation. And that's what I try and do with my content, which is why a lot of it is I've moved away from the sort of the comedy stuff. I still do that, but because I've been doing this 2 years now, I have stories to tell. I have real life experiences that I can now share. And I think a lot of that stuff it resonates more with people
Yeah, definitely.
because people buy into people. And you know, I still will do funny stuff every now and then. I like doing rants. Somebody actually asked me recently, "You haven't done a rant in a while. Are you going to do another one soon?" So there's another one coming soon. Don't worry. So that's where I'm up to on the social media content. I think as an individual piece of content, I don't care what's in it. I care more that the message that's in that content hits with somebody and maybe triggers them to make a change in their life or do something different.
I'm glad you answered, and a really good answer and explaining that, because that was one of the things I was going to ask you about. I've seen a significant shift in terms of your content, and the hospital still makes me smile now. The hospital, Steinfeld, and kicking back in your chair still makes me chuckle, and yeah. So we'll leave that one there. But I think I've seen a significant shift in terms of the content that you're now producing, because you have got the stories, you've got the experiences, and that will, like you say, resonate more with your potential clients. And I mean by your potential clients and your existing clients, it'll mean more to them because they will sort of resonate with it for more. But was that just a conscious shift, or was it just something that sort of happened, or what?
Not intentionally. That's my honest answer. I probably dial back a little bit from the funny stuff because being funny is not easy. You know, it's almost, if you're trying to plan funny and humorous content, that's almost a full-time job because you need to plan out what's going to be funny. Whereas if I'm trying to record, and just to go back a bit, this is why I was saying about I don't know how other prolific people are. I am prolific. I post a lot. You know, it's usually 5 to 6 days a week that I'm posting content. Sometimes it's multiple times during the day. So I need to dip into the vault to be able to produce this content, to be able to post it. And I now have the stories to be able to produce this content. I can actually relate real life stories. And that's a key feature. Nothing I have ever put out on social media is false in any way. They're all 100% true stories, apart from maybe if I'm telling jokes and things like that. Obviously, that's different. But stories about mortgage and protection advice, they're all 100% true. And if it came from, you know, usually the story comes from somebody, it's about their experience. So if one person can experience, then maybe another person can experience it or has a question or needs some guidance. So it wasn't just to go back to the question. I will answer the question eventually. It wasn't.
I've got a little clock going on to sort of see, like, there's a timer on there.
Yeah, it wasn't. It wasn't a conscious choice. It was just an evolution of the content. That's my answer to that question.
Okay, thanks very much for answering that and giving that clarity. So when you look back over the last 2 years, so obviously you've been in financial services for a lot longer than that, but you look back and you watch that video, the podcast that we did, you listen to yourself, and then look back over the last 2 years. Do you take time to review, reflect? Do you think about what you've learned, and what would you? Is there anything you would say to the Marty Naan of 9th of March 2022?
Yeah, go get checked for hemochromatosis. Just to get that sorted out earlier. Aside from that, no. I think I was nervous. I hope you're not laughing at my condition, Craig.
No, never. I'm just
In
laughing how
terms
you
of
pronounce it, that's all. So I'm just wondering how transcribing the podcast is going to come up, what it's going to come up with when you've said that in your best Irish accent. That's the thing.
don't worry, I'll text you how to spell it. No, in terms of the job, I would say just get into it. You know, I was nervous about starting on the job because I hadn't really got into the weeds on the job. I wasn't super busy. I was picking up a little bit of traction, and I had some clients that were coming to me, and we were doing the bits and pieces, but I wasn't what I would call busy. but I needed to learn, and I was trying my best to learn things. And the best way to learn this job is to do this job. So you need to just, you need to come out of the blocks as quick as possible and get busy. Get busy working or get busy doing a different job.
Ending on that poignant note there. Get busy or get doing the job.
Well, I was going to do the other one, but I didn't want to. It's going to sound a bit morbid if I say get busy living or get busy dying. But no, you cannot. You cannot take it easy. You have to get stuck in, and as you know, I am Mr. Competitive. I want to be the best. I want to be number one. I want to be the first person that people think about. All the attributes and all the accolades, I want them. And the only way to do that is to get stuck in and do things and learn. So the more cases I was taking on, the more people I was talking to, I was getting hit in with stuff that I had never done before, like complex credit scenarios and people that had adverse credit, self-employed structures and partnerships and stuff that I maybe had touched on before, but I wasn't experienced in. But now I was being forced to learn that, because if I don't learn it and I can't do it, I don't get paid. And that really was, being broke is a great motivator. I didn't want to be broke. I have a family to feed. So I needed to learn. So that would be my advice to I want to say my younger self, maybe 2 years ago. But don't be afraid to take on everything and find your feet, because I think people are hesitant. People don't like coming. We talked about it before. People don't like coming out of the comfort zone. But you step out of that comfort zone and you see the whole world that exists outside of that comfort zone. I think that's what I've done. And I've probably, apart from when the economy was kind of messed up last year, I have been consistently busy for these last 2 years. Another fact that I'm very, very grateful for.
I think that's, like you say, it is stepping out of your comfort zone. When you're looking back, you stepped out of your comfort zone, you were getting on with it, you were doing it from the start. I think that's the thing is with brokers, going back to what you were saying there about certain difficult cases, different niche stuff, things that you weren't aware of when you first became a broker. You've got a choice to make. You get that inquiry that's got a non-standard construction, or the credit file's not great, or whatever the scenario, but there's a million and one scenarios from a client point of view. You've got a choice to make. You either go and just say you can't help them, then they'll bring another broker, or you go away and think, I don't know anything about this part of the world, mortgage, like I don't know any part of this sort of specialist lending space. However, I'm going to go out there and learn it. And I'm going to learn the way on the job, which is the best way to learn, because you're learning on a client scenario. It's the best way to learn, rather than just a normal sat with a BDM nothing against BDMs at all. I think you learn more if you're dealing with client scenarios and learning that way than just talking about typical clients. But it's the only way to learn. So you've got that choice to make of, do you know what, I'm going to go to the nth degree to find a solution for this client. And I'm going to look back, and if I cannot find a solution, there is no other broker on this planet that's going to find them a solution.
Yeah.
I think that's your job. That is what you've got to do as a mortgage broker. If you take the first choice, that's your call. That's more of an employed mentality of, I'll get another one, I'll move on to the next one. And that's easy done, especially when you're first self-employed. If you're chasing the pound, you're going to go, no, I can't help them. Where's the next one? Whereas you... is the right way, from my perspective and my opinion, is go to the nth degree, find a solution for that client. If you don't know what the solution is, go out there and learn it, because there's plenty of things to learn. There's always an answer to every question being a mortgage broker, and there's loads of questions. You just got to know where the answer is. So go out there and find it. You'll be a better broker. The client will think better of you, and the client will be in a better situation than they were before they actually met up with you. So that's the important bit of going to that nth degree for that client, and then you'll sleep better at night knowing that, you know what, nobody else could have done that for them. How do you feel when you get that feedback that, two of the brokers, none of them could help me, but Marty Naan that night in shining armor in the green vest, green hoodie, came and got me the house and got me the mortgage that I wanted?
Listen, it's funny you say that, Because you and I both know that quite recently I had a review that came in that said that the client had seen 3 other advisors.
Yeah. I forgot about that, but yeah. Yes.
3 other advisors that do the same job as me. On paper, they do the same job as me, but yet they couldn't help. But I could help. So that's the kind of stuff, again, it comes back to the client. I am not willing to give up on a client unless I have exhausted every possible option. And I think that's the right attitude to have, because they've taken the time to come to me. So I should be taking the time to make sure that I've done absolutely everything I can for that person and supported them in every possible way to try and help them get to their goal, try and achieve that goal. Doesn't happen sometimes. That's unfortunate for somebody. We cannot help everybody. Sometimes people just aren't in a position to be helped now. Maybe in the future they can be. But if you haven't exhausted all your options and you're giving up on the client, that kind of stuff really annoys me. That I don't like that.
No.
I take that back. I do like that, because then that client will come to me. But from an ethical point of view, I don't like that.
No, absolutely. No, I totally agree with you. It's very simple. Just do your job. Your job.
Yeah.
I'm going to patent that, by the way. I can't patent that, by the way, because plenty of people use that. But just do your job. That's what a client comes to you and expects you to do your job. Just do your job. That's all. It's as simple as that. So
they're putting their trust in you. Can you really afford to betray that trust? I can't. That's just the way I feel about it. I know not everybody feels that way. More's the pity.
They don't, but you care. I'm not saying that brokers don't care about the client journey, but I'm talking about you, and we're being specific about you here. You care about your client journey. You care about the feedback that you get from the clients. You care about making dreams come true, like you said about that. You care about that. You give a shit about that. You literally, that comes from within, and that your clients get that passion from you from day one, even before they've met with you. You've seen your content. You're displaying that passion. That's exactly how you are when you're with your clients through to the end, and when you're making those dreams come true. So,
well, when I was young, I was told that pride was a sin, but it turns out that whenever you get a bit older, pride to me is not a sin, because I want to be proud of the job that I done for somebody. So I am not in agreement that is a sin.
Marty, thank you very much. You've come back on the podcast with no agenda. There are a few other things that I've got. I'm looking at my notes there, thinking there were a few other things I wanted to ask you, but we just literally, I know as soon as I talk about things like WhatsApp groups and Facebook groups, that we're going to spend far too much time talking about that. So they were just if we were struggling for a conversation, which I know we wouldn't be, I wouldn't drop those in. But maybe we'll get you back on to talk about Facebook
Absolutely.
groups. I think that might be.
Maybe I'll give you a 6-month reprieve, and then hopefully I'll have got rid of this cold so that I'm not sniffling on camera. What's that?
It's the world's smallest violin playing a tune just for you.
Look at that. I take time out of my busy schedule to come on.
Have you not seen? Have you never heard that before? You're one of the first people I've never heard that before.
No, I have heard it. I just wanted to let you get on with it so you can have your peace. I'm taking time out of my busy schedule to come on and make your day better, and then I get that kind of abuse. Do you know what? You know what your punishment will be? I'll come back in the podcast in 3 months, not 6 months.
We can do that. We'll do 3 months, and then what's that going to be? June. Sun will be shining in the northwest, hopefully by then. So we can do it out and about somewhere.
I'll probably have a flu again. I have a toddler, so you just get everything that's going. But no, we should. It doesn't need to be 2 years.
No.
There's a lot of things to talk about. The entire mortgage world has changed since we last spoke. Everything's went topsy-turvy. So there's so many things to think about. The role of a mortgage advisor is more important than ever. So I think it's not just mortgages, it's finance, people buying homes, how we can help people. Everything has changed in the last 2 years. I've changed. My hairstyle has changed dramatically. But we've got a lot to talk about. So yeah, let's make this a wee bit more frequent, maybe.
I think we will. I think definitely 2 years has been far too much a long time. We've got far too much to talk about. So, but this is the first instalment of the 2024 series with Marty Naan. Definitely. Marty,
Fair enough.
thank you very much for your time. We didn't get interrupted by any delivery parcels or anything like that going on.
No.
So, thank you very much. Thanks for agreeing to come back on. Thanks for sharing, being honest, as always. And like I say, we won't leave it as long next time. Let's get 3 months in the diary and let's come back and talk about other things that we need to talk about, like you say, in terms of what's happened in the mortgage space over the past few years. So thank you so much.
Absolutely. Thank you very much. Thanks for having me on.